The entire plant body is covered by the epidermal tissue. The epidermal cells are also made up of parenchyma cells, but those parenchyma cells, they are actually elongated, they are a bit longer. So I had told you that the epidermal tissue system is made up of the epidermal cells, and it consists of the cuticle, the stomata, and also the trichome or the root hair or the shoot hair. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to today's session on chapter 6, that is Anatomy of Flowering Plants. I am Dr. Divya, Biology faculty, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Mysuru, Temple of Excellence. So in the previous session, we had concentrated on the permanent tissues. So under permanent tissues, I had told you it is divided into two different types of tissues, that is the simple tissues and the complex tissues. So what are these permanent tissues? So those tissues will lose their ability to divide. Why? Because they would have been completely matured. So such tissues are called as the permanent tissues, and it is of simple tissues and complex tissues. Under the simple tissues, we learnt about the parenchyma cells, the collenchyma cells and the sclerenchyma cells. And under the complex tissue, we studied about the vascular tissues, that is the xylem and the phloem. So in today's session, we shall study about the other details of the anatomy of the flowering plant. So today we shall enter into studying the tissue system. So tissue, that is nothing but on the basis of their structure and their location in a particular cell, they are of three types of tissue systems. So where they are placed exactly in a plant body, that is their exact position in a plant body. Based on that, there are three types of tissue system. One is the epidermal tissue system, the other one is the ground tissue system or the fundamental tissue system, and the third one is the vascular tissue system or the conducting tissue system. So we shall study each of these one by one. So far what you had learnt about the simple permanent tissues and the complex permanent tissue. So all these, that is the parenchyma cells, the collenchyma cells and the sclerenchyma cells, all these come under the epidermal tissue and the ground tissue, whereas the xylem and the phloem, they come under the vascular tissue. So in detail, how the structure of these cells look like and all that we shall study in today's session. So first moving on to the epidermal tissue system. So the epidermal tissue system, epidermis, epi means outside. So it is the derma means skin. So it is the outer covering or the outer layer of a plant body. So in the case of epidermal tissue, it is nothing but the outermost covering of the whole plant body, and it is made up of some cells called as the epidermal cells. So these epidermal cells, apart from having just the epidermal cells, in between the epidermal cells, they also have stomata and they also have the epidermal appendages such as the trichomes and the hair. So when I talk about the epidermal tissue, don't just think that it is limited either to the leaf or the stem, but it also extends to the root. So what it means, the entire plant body is covered by the epidermal tissue. So in the root, the epidermal tissues have some cells which gets modified into appendages called as the trichome and the root hair. So in the root hair, the epidermal cells that gets modified, in the case of root, it is nothing but the root hair, and when we talk about the leaf and the stem, it is nothing but the trichomes. And also they have the epidermal cells, they also have the stomata. So here you can see a simple section of a epidermis observed under the microscope, or an epidermal peel that is observed under the microscope, where we can find stomata being present. So what are these stomata? How do they look like? What are the structures of the stomata? All that we shall study. So these are the epidermal cells, and usually the epidermal cells, they look barrel shaped. So they look like this. So this is the epidermis. So inside the epidermis, all the other cells of the plant body will be present. Say for example, the parenchymas, then moving on to the collenchymas, So collenchyma, the parenchyma, all these will be present below the epidermis. So this is the layer of the epidermis. So in between the epidermis, there is presence of the stomata. So this is how it actually looks like. The presence of the stomata, again the epidermal cells will continue. So therefore, the epidermal tissue is composed of epidermal cells which are barrel shaped, and also they have the stomata. So stomata are nothing but the openings which have the guard cells which are kidney shaped. So we shall study about that later. So apart from having all these, they also have hair-like structures which are multicellular. So these hair-like structures are nothing but trichomes. So if I'm talking about the epidermal cells of a leaf, then it is called as a trichome. If the same thing is that of a root, then it is called as the root hairs. Root hairs or the shoot. And if it was the shoot, it is called as the shoot hair. So the root hairs and the shoot hair. So these are the different types of cells or components that are present in the epidermal tissues. It is nothing but the tissue that or the cells that cover the entire plant body. So next, moving on to the shape of the epidermis, like epidermal cells, how do they exactly look like? So they are usually elongated. And they are compactly arranged, forming a continuous layer. So they are elongated and they are compactly arranged in such a way that they form a continuous layer throughout the plant body. And they are usually single layer. So they are made up of only one layer of cell. They are only single layer and they are parenchymatous. So these, remember I told you the parenchyma cells, they can have either elongated parenchyma cells or polygonal shaped parenchyma cells and all that, right? Or they may be oval, circular, depends. So the epidermal cells are also made up of parenchyma cells, but those parenchyma cells, they are actually elongated. They are a bit longer. So they are made up of parenchymatous cells with a small amount of cytoplasm lining the cell wall. So these epidermal cells have small amount of cytoplasm lining the cell wall, and also it has a large cavity or a vacuole that is being present. So you can see the image here. So outer to the epidermis, there is one more layer that is present called as a cuticle. So this cuticle is nothing but a waxy layer that is present above the epidermis. So the epidermis is again of two types, the upper epidermis and the lower epidermis. Why it is the upper and the lower? Because the leaf will have an upper surface as well as a lower surface, right? So therefore, it has the upper epidermis and the lower epidermis, and it is made up of cells which are parenchymatous, and they are a continuous layer. They form only one single layer. So one single layer is formed and they are compactly packed. So this is about the epidermis, and they are filled with cytoplasm and they have a large vacuole that is present. So this is the epidermis. So below to the epidermis are present the cortex region, wherein the parenchyma cells, the sclerenchyma, the collenchyma, all that will be present. So this is about the epidermal cells. So next, moving on to the cuticles. So I had told you that the epidermal tissue system is made up of the epidermal cells, and it consists of the cuticle, the stomata, and also the trichome or the root hair or the shoot hair. So we finished with studying about the epidermal cells. So we shall see what cuticle is. So cuticle is nothing but a waxy thick layer that is present outside the epidermis. So if we have the epidermal cells like this, outside to the epidermal cells is present a waxy layer which is called as the cuticle. So since it is waxy, it actually helps in running off of the water. So usually you might see, just put a drop of water on a leaf, the water droplet will not stand on the leaf. It will just run off and fall. The water droplet will fall off, right? Why is that? It is because of the waxy layer. Just like rub a candle on a paper and then put water droplet on it, will the water droplet stand on the candle wax? No, it will just slip off. So therefore, because it is waxy, even that is the epidermal cells, outer to the epidermis or the epidermal tissue, there is present a waxy coating that is called as the cuticle. Because of that, it acts as a protective layer to the plant. So it is very important, and it also prevents loss of water, and also it is very important as it may provide protection to the plants against various pests and pathogens as well. And these cuticle, they are usually absent in the root. So they are usually found in the stem and the leaf, but they are absent in the root. So this is about the cuticle. So next, moving on to one more component of the epidermal tissue system, that is the stomata. So stomata are the bean-like structures or kidney-shaped structures that are usually present in the epidermis of the leaves. So these stomata, they help in the exchange of water and also in the process of respiration, that is in the exchange of gases. So they regulate the process of transpiration and also they help in gaseous exchange, as I had told you. So the stomata is usually composed of two bean-like structures. So as you can see, they are made up of two bean-like structure. It looks like a bean seed. So that is why it is called as a bean-like structure. That bean-like structure is called as the guard cells. So they are called as guard cells. So it is composed of two bean-shaped cells, and these bean-shaped cells are known as the guard cells, and they have a opening which is called as the stomatal pore. So aperture is nothing but pore. So they have an opening called as the stomatal pore. So this is the stomatal pore that is present. It is through the stomatal pore. When the stomata opens, the stomatal pore will be exposed. Therefore, the transpiration process and the exchange of gases will take place. And when it closes during the night, the loss of water or the transpiration process will come to a halt, and also the exchange of gases will come to a halt. And the outer walls of the guard cell. So what is this guard cell? As I told you, these are the two bean-shaped structures that forms the stomatal apparatus. So the stomata is made up of two bean-shaped structures which are called as the guard cells, and the outer wall of the guard cells, they are very thin, and the inner wall is very thickened, that is, and it is highly thickened. So the outer walls of the guard cells, which is away from the stomatal pore. So this is the outer wall that is very thin, and the inner wall is very thick, emerged. And you can see here there is presence of the epidermal cells. Why? Because the stomata are present in between, almost submerged or embedded in the epidermal cells. That is why the epidermal cells are also shown in the diagram. So this is about the stomata. So the stomata usually has a stomatal aperture, and it also has two guard cells, and also apart from that it has different cells which we can see here. So the guard cells actually possess chloroplasts. So as you can see, they have chloroplasts, therefore they are green in color. The stomata are green in color, and also they help in the process of the photosynthesis. And these guard cells, they possess chloroplast. Not just that, I told you stomata, they open during the daytime and they close during the night, or in some cases what happens, extreme conditions, what happens, they remain closed even during the daytime, that is in the extreme environmental condition. That is, the guard cells also regulate the opening and the closing of the stomata. Sometimes what happens, those epidermal cells that are present somewhere near the guard cells, they become specialized or they change in their shape and size, and they are known as the subsidiary cells. So these are the subsidiary cells. Subsidiary cells which are present on either side of the stomata. So stomata, they can be of two types either, or the guard cells, they can be of two types. Either they can be bean shaped, as I had shown you here. They can be either bean shaped or they can also be dumbbell shaped. So these are the examples of stomata which are dumbbell shaped. Bean shape or dumbbell shape. So here also you can see the epidermal cells are present. In between the epidermal cells, the stomatal apparatus is present. So what is the stomatal apparatus composed of? So the stomatal apparatus consists of two guard cells which are either bean shaped or dumbbell shaped depending on the plant species, and also they have the chloroplast present in them. Because of the presence of the chloroplast, they are green in color and they help in the process of photosynthesis. Apart from that, some of the epidermal cells that are surrounding the guard cells, they modify themselves or they change their structure and they get converted into subsidiary cells. They are subsidiary cells or they are supporting cells for the guard cells. And the stomatal aperture, that is the opening. So what was the stomatal opening? So as you can see here, the stomatal opening or the stomatal aperture, stomatal aperture. So the stomatal aperture, the guard cells as well as the surrounding subsidiary cells together constitute the stomatal apparatus. So therefore the stomatal apparatus is made up of the guard cells, the subsidiary cells, the neighboring epidermal cells, and also they are made up of the chloroplast, and also they are made up of the epidermal cells as I had told you, and also they consist of the stomatal aperture. All these together constitute the stomatal apparatus. So this is about the stomata. So next, moving on to the few of the other epidermal tissue system. I told you from the epidermis or from the epidermal cells, even trichomes, the root hairs and the shoot hairs arise. So first we shall study about the root hairs. So root hairs, they are usually unicellular and they are thread-like and they come out of the epidermal cells and they usually help the roots in absorbing water and minerals from the soil. Say for example, if I draw a simple root like this with the lateral roots, so in here numerous thread-like structures will be present which are nothing but the root hairs, and these root hairs, they are actually unicellular and they help the root in absorbing water and nutrients. So as you can see here, these are the roots and they have just shown the root hairs. So this is a root hair that is present. These root hairs actually help in absorbing the water and the nutrients that are present from the soil particles and transporting it to the roots, and from the roots it is transported to different parts of the plant body. So this is about the root hair. Next, talking about the shoot hair. The shoot hair is also one of the component of the epidermal tissue system because it arises from the epidermal cells. So what is a trichome? So those epidermal hairs that are present on the stem are called as the trichome, or those epidermal hairs that are present on the leaf are also called as trichome. So both the hair-like structures that are present on the leaf as well as the stem, both are also called as the trichome. So usually the trichome can be branched or unbranched, and they can also be soft or stiff. So all these, the branching and unbranching depends on the type of cell division. Either it is taking place there, or also sometimes it can be either soft or stiff. Why? Because depending on the environment or the habitat in which it is growing. If a trichome is unbranched, then say for example, this is the epidermal cell and the trichome is arising somewhere from here, that is the shoot hair or the leaf hair. So it is unbranched. It doesn't have any branching. It is unbranched. So this is unbranched. Sometimes what happens, there are certain trichomes which produces branching like this. So this is branched trichome. Branched trichome. And this is a unbranched trichome. So they may be either branched or they may be either unbranched, or they may be either soft or they may be needle-like stiff. So depending on the plant species. And they also may even be secretory. That is, they may secrete some glands which actually protects the plants against certain insects and all that. So therefore they also may be secretory. And also the trichomes, they help in preventing water loss due to transpiration. So those plants which have a lot of trichome, there in such plants the loss of water is minimal. Why? Because those hair-like structures will cover the entire epidermal surface, therefore preventing the excess loss of water during the process of transpiration. Therefore, these are very important. Trichomes are very important in plants when there is an adverse environmental condition such as the drought or very high temperature. So here you can see a simple trichomes. As you can see the trichomes here, these are the hair-like structures that are actually present on a plant. So next, moving on to the ground tissue system. So far we studied about the epidermal tissue system, which is the external covering of the entire plant body, which is made up of the stomata, the epidermal cells. It consists of the trichomes and it consists of the root hairs. So next we shall see about the layer that is present below the epidermal cells. So here we have the epidermis. So this is the epidermis. So those cells which are present below to the epidermis and between the epidermis and the endodermis is called as the ground tissue. So the ground tissue can either consist of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. So all tissues except the epidermis and the vascular bundle constitutes the ground tissue. So epidermis belongs to the epidermal tissue system. The vascular bundles, that is the xylem and the phloem, belongs to the vascular tissue system. But those cells, that is the cells which are present in between the epidermis and the vascular bundle system, forms the ground tissue. So all these, right from the start of here till here, all the cells that are present belongs to the ground tissue system. So what are these ground tissue system made up of? What type of cells are present in them? We shall see. So it consists of simple tissues. So what are the simple tissues? It is a kind of a permanent tissue, right? So what are the different types of simple permanent tissue? The parenchyma, the collenchyma and the sclerenchyma, which you have studied in the previous session. So it consists of simple tissues such as parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Say for example, I can show you with the drawing wherein I draw a epidermis. So below the epidermis we have the ground tissues. So somewhere here the vascular tissues will start. Vascular tissues. So we have the parenchyma. The parenchyma is present. Then comes the collenchyma. So many layers will be present. So then comes the collenchyma. So collenchyma usually they are dense. They are filled with dense thickening. Parenchymas are loosely arranged, which you have studied in the previous session. So we have the collenchyma. After the collenchyma, or sometimes the sclerenchyma may be present just below the epidermis and the parenchyma later. Then the collenchyma. So the arrangement of cells varies in species to species. Then the sclerenchyma. So these are the different types of cells. So parenchyma, the collenchyma and the sclerenchyma. And parenchyma cells, they are usually present in the cortex region. So this particular region is called as the cortex region. So in the cortex region it is usually present, and it is also present in the pericycle, it is also present in the pith, and it is also present in the medullary rays. So what are these? So say for example, I have a plant cell wherein this is the vascular bundle. So in the vascular bundle, so in between the vascular bundles also the parenchyma cells can be present in between the vascular bundles as well. So therefore they are also present in between the medullary rays in the primary stems and the roots. That is the young stems and the roots, or the first formed stems and the roots, they will be present. And when we talk about the leaves, the ground tissue, it actually consists of thin-walled chloroplast. That is, they have collenchyma in which the chloroplasts are being present, and these actually help in the process of the photosynthesis. So they have very thin-walled chloroplast and they are called as the mesophyll. So mesophyll is the region that is present in the leaves wherein it is filled with the chloroplast cells. So these are the different types of the ground tissues that are present in a plant. So next, moving on to the vascular tissue system. So the vascular tissue system consists of complex permanent tissues which are nothing but the phloem and the xylem. So the xylem and the phloem together constitutes the vascular tissue, wherein the xylem helps in the conduction of the water and the phloem helps in the conduction of the food. So the vascular tissues are actually of two types, that is, they are of open vascular tissue and closed vascular tissue. But apart from that, based on whether they are open and closed vascular tissue, they can be radial vascular bundle, conjoined vascular bundle, that is conjoined open vascular bundle, conjoined closed vascular bundle. So these are the different types of vascular tissue or vascular bundles that are present in a plant. So first, talking about the open vascular bundle. So open vascular bundle is usually seen in the dicotyledonous stem, wherein the cambium is present. So in the cambium is present between the xylem and the phloem. So as you can see here, this is the vascular bundle. So as I told you, what is a vascular bundle made up of? It is made up of the xylem and the phloem. So we have the xylem and there is the phloem. In between the xylem and phloem, there is a layer of cambial cells being present. So if there is a layer of cambium cells or cambial cells between the phloem and the xylem, then such type of vascular bundle or vascular tissue system is called as the open vascular bundle. So such vascular bundles, because of the presence of the cambium, they actually have the ability, so they are open to further produce the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem. So that is why they are also called as the open vascular bundle. So they possess the ability to form the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem tissues, and therefore they are called as the open vascular bundle. So here, in between the phloem and the xylem, they have the cambial cells, and because of the presence of the cambial cell, they are open to, or they are able to produce the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem. Therefore, such vascular bundles are called as the open vascular bundles. So moving on to the next type of vascular bundle, that is the closed vascular bundle. So closed vascular bundle is usually seen in monocotyledons. Open vascular bundles is usually seen in the dicots, and closed vascular bundles is usually seen in the monocotyledons. So here, the only difference is, here also there is the xylem and the phloem, but the cambium is absent in between the xylem and the phloem. They have no cambium present in them, that is, the cambium is absent. So as you can see, the phloem cells are present, the xylem cells or xylem tissue is present, but in between the xylem and the phloem there is no cambium, and therefore they do not give rise to the secondary phloem and the secondary xylem. Because of that, since they do not form the secondary tissues, that is the secondary phloem and the secondary xylem, they are also called as closed vascular bundle. So this is about the closed vascular bundle. So next, moving on to one more kind of the arrangement of vascular tissues in a plant body, that is the radial vascular bundle. So here, the xylem and the phloem that are present in a vascular bundle, they are arranged in an alternate manner. That is, one portion will be xylem and the other portion will be a phloem. So alternate. So if this is the xylem, then alternating to it, it will be the phloem. Again here xylem, alternating to it is the phloem. Again here xylem, alternating to the xylem is the phloem. Again the xylem, alternating to that is the phloem. So they alternate. It is not like previously what I had shown in the open type and the closed type vascular bundle. The xylem and the phloem were present in one region itself. That is, after the presence of the phloem, the xylem was present. But in this case, they are present separately. The tissues are present separately, wherein if once it is xylem, the other one will be the phloem. Again the xylem, then the phloem, again the xylem and the phloem. So this kind of arrangement is called as the radial vascular bundle. They are arranged like a radius, they are arranged like a ray. That is why it is called as a radial vascular bundle. So this was about the radial vascular bundle. So next, moving on to the conjoined vascular bundle. So The conjoined vascular bundle is of open conjoined vascular bundle and the closed conjoined vascular bundle. So the xylem and phloem here, they are situated together. That is, one layer is of xylem or 2 or 3 layers is of phloem and other 2-3 layers is of xylem. But what happens here? They are situated along the same radius of the vascular bundle. So that is nothing but conjoined vascular bundle, and they are very common in stems and leaves. So here if you see the radial vascular bundle, they are arranged in alternate manner along different radii. That is, different radii means, so if this is the vascular tissue, if xylem is here, then the phloem is here, then the xylem, then the phloem, then the xylem, then the phloem. They are arranged in, the xylems are arranged towards the outside and the phloems are arranged towards the inside. That is nothing but the radial vascular bundle. So next, moving on to the conjoined, here the vascular bundles are arranged in one particular region, that is along the radius. So if it is the xylem here, then the phloem, then again the xylem, again the phloem, the xylem and the phloem. So in one single radius they will be arranged. So such vascular bundles are called as the conjoined open vascular bundles, and they have the phloem located only on the outer side of the xylem. So conjoined open vascular bundle, they have the xylem and the phloem located in the same vascular radius, but the conjoined closed vascular bundle, they have the phloem located only on the outer side of the xylem. So if the xylem are located towards the inner side, the phloem will be located alternating towards the outer side. So this is about the conjoined vascular bundle. So these were about the different vascular bundles that are present. So I hope you understood this today's session, wherein we studied about the permanent tissues, that is the simple permanent tissues and the complex permanent tissues in detail, wherein we studied about the tissue system, wherein we learnt about the epidermal tissue system, and also the ground tissue system and the vascular tissue system. So I hope you understood this session well. We shall meet in the coming session, wherein we shall study about the transverse sections of the dicot and the monocot stem, wherein we shall see what are the differences in the arrangement of cells as seen when it comes to the dicot and the monocot stem. So I hope you understood this session well. We shall meet in the coming session. Thank you.